So, welcome back to another episode of the Prescription Travel MD podcast, where we help busy docs and professionals travel better, travel smarter, and make more space in their lives for the experiences that truly matter. So, today I'm joined by someone who is solving one of the biggest pain points in travel, at least for me, figuring out what to actually do when you arrive at your destination. My guest is Chris Stockwell. He is the founder and creator of Scout. It's a beautifully designed travel app that helps travelers discover the best things to do. So, things to see, things to eat, and places to explore in cities all over the world. So, Scout goes way beyond your typical Google or your TripAdvisor list. It actually curates experiences based on what you enjoy. And it makes it incredibly easy to build a trip that feels meaningful and a trip that's memorable and local. So, in our conversation, Chris shares how Scout was born. He talks a little bit about how the app works, the types of hidden gems and unique activities that will actually surface once you actually put in things that matter to you most. He also talks about why it's such a game changer for both last minute travelers and for the meticulous planner, which I can be both of sometimes. So, this conversation is the perfect follow up to episode 45 that I did with Dr. Heather Bacala, where we talked all about the thrill of last minute travel and why spontaneity can make a trip feel even more memorable. So, today we're going deeper into that idea because Scout makes spontaneous, authentic exploring feel effortless. And before we jump into my conversation with Chris, I did want to share 5 quick tips for surviving life as a last minute planner, especially for my healthcare people or those of us in the ER whose schedules sometimes feel like chaos. So, number one, embrace the good enough plan. What I mean by that is you don't need a perfectly mapped out itinerary, okay? Just anchor your trip with like one or two must dos and let the rest unfold. This has been a game changer for my peace of mind in trip planning just in the past year. Number two, use apps that think for you. So, tools like Scout will remove the guesswork and the overwhelm by curating experiences instantly. So, you're never starting from scratch when you touch ground at your destination. Number three, build a go bag or packing template. So if last minute is your lifestyle, even if it's not, don't reinvent the wheel every time you go. So have a standard packing list, and that'll save your brain some space, whether that's a capsule wardrobe or, you have a list of toiletries and electronics that you intend to throw into the bag before you go. My husband always has a list on his phone, and he's definitely the more organized packer. And, I know that when we get to our destination, our family is in good hands. We're going to have everything that we need. He is like Santa, making a list, checking it twice. Number four, prioritize your experiences over the logistics. So don't get hung up on perfection again. Choose the things that you want to feel on the trip. And honestly, just follow the things that align with that. Number five, give yourself permission to be spontaneous. So this is one of the best ideas that has come out of my travels this year. So even though I'm sometimes last minute, I am still a planner at heart who likes to have all the details of my trip in a place that I can access, and I try to maximize the time and experiences that I have wherever I'm at. But I realized that maximizing and optimizing aren't always the same thing. So this was probably after a conversation that I had with a different Stockwell, episode 17, where I learned a few things about how to build and not destroy my relationship through travel. So I really just started being intentional about scheduling downtime. And I think that allows space for being spontaneous because often the best travel moments happen when you stop overthinking and you just follow what feels good right now. So try it out. Let me know if it doesn't change your life and the way you travel. All right, let's get into my conversation with Chris. So thanks for joining me today, Chris. I love opening up the show with a sneak peek into the life of our guests. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your love for travel, how Scout came about?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for having me on. What a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to speak with you. So I have been to all 50 US states. I've been to 34 countries. In 27. I first went to Europe for 2 months solo backpacking at 17. So kind of been traveling my whole life. And I also have traveled in many different ways. So as I mentioned, been a solo backpacker. I've been a digital nomad working remotely. I've traveled professionally, like leaving on Sunday, coming back on Friday as a consultant, going to different places within the US. I've also done road trips with my friends and family. And so the pain points and ideas that became the origin story of Scout are things that I personally felt. And we're really building a platform that is something that I wanted to see in the world. And I think that those are some of the strongest ideas because it means that it's addressing something that somebody actually, struggles with in the world. And I know that I'm not alone. So thank you for having, it's, what a pleasure.
Yeah, I think that's how all great ideas really get started. There's like something that's missing, or you realize that there's a problem that you're having that's universal and other people are having that same experience. And then all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and you come up with this great idea. So walk us back through that moment where you just decided, hey, I'm going to fix this problem. What was your first step and how'd that go?
Amazing. Yeah. So about a year ago, I was taking the bus. Well, so I worked from Buenos Aires for a week, and then I flew to Panama City and had a long layover there. And then I flew to Costa Rica and took the bus from Costa Rica through Central America all the way to Guatemala, and had a lovely time checking out the countries in between. And this is the kind of travel where a lot of it is impromptu and you're kind of in the moment on the go. And even if you wanted to plan ahead in a comprehensive way, you wouldn't really be able to because your plans change, you meet new people, there's other opportunities. And so I wanted to create a tool where you can easily find really cool things to do that real people recommend. And so that was kind of, the one of the main points where I realized, hey, there's a real issue here. But Scout as a whole is kind of addressing three things. One, it's really hard to find advice from real people. Two, the best resource is usually different depending on where you're going. So that can be regionally, it can be internationally, and also different depending on what you like to do. So if you're into museums, it's one place. If you like hiking, it's another. If you're a big foodie, it's another place. And so kind of the process of compiling those is also broken. And, more than half of people don't use anything to plan their trips. And the ones that do are using Google Docs, they're using the Notes app, and only about 5% of people use dedicated travel planners. And I think there's an inherent issue there where you're kind of copy pasting and uploading, and the process of building this so manual. And so I think, I got a real window into those issues during this trip, but it ended up evolving to solving something much, much larger in the ecosystem.
So how is Scout like different in comparison to, like, using Google or ChatGPT or using TikTok for your recommendations for your trip? Because I know that's something that we've been, referring to when we're looking for things to do for our trip. How does that simplify the process, and, like, how does it compare?
Absolutely, and I think it's telling that you're saying using Google, and a lot of people go on Reddit or TikTok or Instagram because those are not necessarily for travel. Those are where real people are posting what they're doing, maybe Facebook groups, but you have sites like TripAdvisor or, equivalent places that are trying to be travel guides, but people don't end up using them because it's usually not applicable, maybe someone who's not like them in a different price range, etc. So the way it works in Scout is you put in where you want to go. We launched with the top 10,000 cities in the world by population, and we're going to add more very quickly. And you can filter by things that you're interested in doing if you want to. You don't have to, and you get a discover feed of what everyone's saying. And all the posts are also pinned on a map, so you can look visually that way. Or you can talk with our Scout AI, which gives you a ChatGPT style, conversation response, as well as it looks at your conversation and tells you what real people are saying relevant to it. And then we have a guide section with the most important information around currency conversion and weather and local transport and culture, etc. And we have group chats by location, and we have a planning feature built right into the app. And so basically, the whole premise is no matter who you are, where you're going, what you're interested in doing, Scout is a place where you can use it to plan in the manner that you're used to.
Very cool. And so, I guess walk me through actually planning a trip. So, say I decide I want to go to Morocco, um, and I know that there's this app out there, so what do I do next?
Yeah, great. So I guess you could pick where in Morocco, right? Maybe you're going to a certain city and you would put it in. And I think at the beginning, at least me personally, I would just kind of want to be inspired. So maybe I'm into food. So I'm going to go and I'm going to find the city. I'm going to filter for food, and then I'm going to scroll in that Discover feed to see what people are saying relevant to food. And then I might also look visually on the map. I think usually I'll have specific questions that I'll ask Scout AI kind of impromptu. That could be at the beginning, that could be, later on. And I think that one of the other things that I've realized is many people want something where they can use it to find information before their trip, but they also want to have something on the go. And so something like the guide section is perfect for like while you're on the airplane right before you land to double check. And also, I think like some people will want to modify things quickly, and that'll be part of it. And one of the other really cool things is we also have a collaboration feature built in. So let's say you find some cool things to do, but you're traveling with your spouse or some friends, and you add it to your plans. You can actually share that with them so that they can see it or maybe add it to their plans, and that way everyone can kind of collaborate together on the same itinerary.
Okay. So will it actually compile an itinerary for you and like a list that you can go through? Like, you're going to be gone for like 3 days and you want activities for those 3 days. Will it compile that list for you that you can share, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we recently launched our first version, and we're going to do some really cool things in the future around itinerary planning. So if you, let's say you find something cool that somebody's done and you want to do that too, and you add it to your plans, and then you have a bunch of these things, what we'll do is we'll have AI be able to look at that and automatically organize it into a suggested, schedule basically. And we'll probably integrate with Google Calendar and, make that all modifiable. That doesn't currently exist in the app yet, but we're really excited to work on some of these problems as we keep growing the functionality.
Yeah, I love that. I think that'll definitely open opportunities for travelers like me who like to have a very organized like schedule of things, but I often struggle with trying to figure out exactly what to do when I get to the destination. And I'm also very last minute, so I travel with points, and I don't know if you do any points travel, but a lot of points travel enthusiasts, either you need to be planning a year ahead to be able to get the best opportunities, or you're last minute and you're planning a couple weeks out. I'm somewhere in the middle, but I do tend to be a little more last minute, and being last minute means I'm at the also scrambling at the last minute to find activities or things to do. And I think having something like this opens up options for me so that way, yeah, I can be at the airport and I can be searching, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the next couple days once I arrive.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I'm in Colombia right now, and before I got here, I literally had my flight. I had lodging for 2 days, and that was it. But it was a 2 week trip, and so it's like once I was here, I'm figuring out what to do. Or I was in Cartagena, and I just wanted to do some people watching, so I put in Scout AI like, "Hey, where's a cool place I can sit outside and just watch some people and see the culture?" And it gave me this great plaza, and I ended up sitting next to a table where there was some people that came over and were playing with their like guitars and like, it's just, it's perfect for on the go last minute travelers, and that's usually how I travel. Sometimes I plan, but a lot of times last minute, and I think that's one of the real benefits of Scout. And it also works on the web, and it works on iOS, and we're currently going through the Google Play, review process. It'll soon be on Google Play as well, and that will be, like, that way you can use it no matter what device you're on as well. And I'm curious, like, what your typical flow looks like now when you're planning a trip. Like, what do you use when you're last minute planning today?
What do I use? I call my sister who does all my, ideas and experience planning. Often, I'm looking towards ChatGPT, or I'm using, like, TikTok, like I mentioned, to, find different like, where are the best restaurants, where are the good places to eat. TripAdvisor, I'll usually use if I'm looking for, like, hotels in, like, the early planning stages, but, like, last minute, is usually, like, social media to figure out, like, where I should go.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. That makes sense, and I think you perfectly are exhibiting that behavior I talked about, where people are, really looking to other people's advice, and I find that some people use ChatGPT, but that's never really enough. And so similarly, it's like we don't want you to leave Scout if you're gonna ask AI, and we wanna have that in there, but we do wanna make sure that we have what real people are saying as well.
Okay. And so where is Scout pulling all the information from? Like, if where is it tapping into to get advice on where to go?
Amazing. Yeah, you're thinking the same way we are. So what we've actually done is we've created 2 million insights already in the app on day one, which is a couple hundred per city that we launched with. And it's basically doing what you're already doing. So it's searching on Google and looking at Reddit, at TripAdvisor, at even niche sites. So for example, you're going to Morocco, it's actually going to pull from what people are saying in Arabic and put that in English in the app for you, so you can get what real locals suggest. So we have Scout Insider that already populates the app with all of this information, and we're also thinking deeply about how we can encourage real people to create. And so that's one of the reasons I'm actually in Colombia to test the app as a user. And one of the things that I've really understood since being here is that people in the moment love to take photos, but usually they're not going to write a whole lot about it or they're not going to give their feedback. It takes you out of the moment, especially when you're with people. So the way it's going to work, which is, not the way it currently is in Scout, but we're going to update this, is you're going to be able to just take photos and it will automatically be organized in your profile by kind of trip. So that's by location and by date. And that's all editable, although it'll be done automatically in our app, just kind of to suggest it. And that way you also can just share your profile with somebody who maybe is back home, your friends, your family, who wants to stay up to date on your trip, where there isn't that pressure of posting on maybe Instagram. And then, later you can go back and while you're on transit to the next location or back home, you can go ahead and select either, a whole trip or a leg of a trip or a specific photo or video and kind of talk about your impressions. And that's really the gems of what other people will be valuing and seeing. And so I'm excited for this to not only be the place where everyone goes to find information, but also be the place where everyone goes to create and kind of save what they're doing while they're on the go.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's sort of like you're blogging your trip and you're saving it. It's like in its own archive that's not social media. It's not Facebook. It's not Instagram. That way you can access your trip and other people can have access to the trips that you've taken. Is that right?
100%. And we want to make sure that this is a place where regular people like creating. Like, where do you share your trips? And a lot of people don't use Facebook as much anymore. Instagram is maybe too polished. And so we want to create a social network specifically for travelers to kind of communicate with each other. And I want to make sure that it's not only influencers creating, because then you have the same problem as any other sites. But if it's from real people, and maybe your sister hasn't been where you want to go, or you don't have a friend, or you don't may know you have a friend, you can use Scout. And one of the other cool things is if you follow somebody, you're going to be able to check on them to see where they've been, and we're going to have in your profile a map of all the places that you've created in, or when you've been on a certain trip, it'll kind of pin all of the photos for that leg of the trip. So it's not only just like, hey, you can create here, but also it's really useful for other people to check and to see whenever they're planning their trip.
Yeah, very cool. I cheated a little bit, so I actually downloaded the app and I started using it just to see exactly how it works. And I love that you can kind of tailor it, like you mentioned earlier, to exactly what you want to do. So I could, select that, hey, I'm going to this city. And then I could say, I want to know about the museums and I want to know if there were any, like, there's even an option for like group trips that are available in that city. And I care about food and I care about, I don't know if there's an option for, like, kids' activities, but you basically go through and you select things that are most important to you, and then it will bring up, options for those activities that kinda fit within whatever you selected, so I think that's very cool. I love that those options exist. So what are some of the coolest or most surprising discoveries that others have found through using Scout?
Yeah, amazing. I love that. And I just very quickly want to touch on the personalization aspect, because one of the ways that it's beneficial to have a Discover feed, like one of the reasons is because we can really tailor that algorithm to learn about you. So let's say you're going to Paris and you want to use our family filter, right? When you go to Tokyo, on your next trip, it will already know that you're interested in family and be showing you things related to family travel, before you've even selected. And that will only get better over time as we learn about user behavior and what the important, behaviors are in the app. But we want to make sure that it's learning about you. And this is also beneficial for local, vendors and stores and businesses, because they're going to have more people going that are genuinely interested in what they want to do. And everyone's going to have hidden gems, but they're not going to be the same hidden gems. And so that means that they'll stay hidden gems. And this is a whole paradigm shift from the way that it's currently done, where the hidden gems for that city everybody knows because it's listed on the one site, which is just one ranking. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, absolutely. And just to answer your question on like what we've heard from other people, people have already started using it to plan trips, and like the people are saying like, oh, I love this idea. This is like perfect. I've been looking for something like this. And also, I would say that it's best for people that are on their trip, right? Impromptu travel where they like need it last minute. Again, you can plan ahead of time as well, but it really shines because there is no other substitute for being able to find really cool things to do last minute. And so I would say the best feedback I've heard is from people while I've been here on this trip, actually. I'll just tell it to somebody in the hostel I'm staying at, and they'll use it and they'll have a cool experience. And it's great to hear that feedback.
Yeah. So what's been your best experience with using it?
Right. I would say that I found a cafe the other day, like I needed to do some work and I was like, "Hey, I need it to be like strong Wi-Fi. I need it to be close to this. I wanted to have some food that I'm familiar with from back home. So I need a little bit of a reset from some of the local food here." And anyway, it's found me this perfect spot. It was very cool. There was like 2 floors. They have an outdoor area, a very professional, it was a nice spot, and they let me just sit there and be on my computer for 4 or 5 hours. So I know a lot of people are really into cafes. It's perfect for using that, and I found that Scout AI is one of those things where you think, "Hey, well, this is really the same as ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever someone's using. Why would I use that instead?" But I think once you actually try using it and you give it a specific requirement, what you'll see is that we've really trained it for travel, and it gives great responses, and all you have to do is try it and have a cool experience, and then you keep coming back.
Very cool. I didn't realize that you could actually put in all those different prompts to figure out exactly where you wanna go.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing, amazing. I'm curious, like, where is your next trip? Where are you planning to go? And, yeah, I'm sure that Scout would be able to help you, plan that better, but I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend about how I don't really have my whole year outlined, which is probably not uncommon for me, but Mexico City is probably our next big trip coming up in the next couple months, so just gonna go there for a weekend and try out some new restaurants, and I don't have all the details mapped out, so maybe I'll check out Scout AI and figure out the rest.
No, that's amazing, that's amazing. So you're typically gonna be points hacking, and then you'll figure it out last minute whenever there's a good deal that comes through.
Yeah, yeah. Do you, use points for travel?
Absolutely. So I have 10 personal credit cards. I play the game. I have the Amex Platinum. I had actually opened the Chase Sapphire, but I realized it didn't have access to the Amex lounge, so I ended up switching to the Platinum. I have the Gold card, and then the other card that I use most while I'm traveling is actually my Amazon Prime, which is a free card, but it has no international fees. And so when I go to a place and they don't accept Amex, that's usually what I go to instead.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. What car do you over there is your workhorse when you're traveling to all these places?
Yeah, definitely Amex Platinum. And actually, I'll give you a bit of an embarrassing story from the other day. So there was I was in Cartagena, and there was a group of women, and they said that, hey, they were from Venezuela. And it's near the border here, and they love if someone. They weren't asking for money; they were asking for someone to buy them diapers for their children. And so I said, okay, I'm happy to do that. And so we went to a drugstore, and I bought them some diapers. But it turned out that they charged me $80, which is an absurd amount of money for here. It should be like $5. And so while I haven't actually done it yet, I'm quite confident that Amex will, I'll be able to challenge the charge and they'll reverse it. And so I think just having the peace of mind with a brand like Amex is something that I use, even though perhaps I'm not quite point optimizing while I'm traveling. That tends to be my workhorse anyway for those reasons.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about something like that. So, how did that happen? So you went in and you paid and you didn't know that it was like $80 US, or were you paying like US dollars versus like the local dollar, or like what happened?
It was late at night and it was in pesos, and it was a brand of drugstores that is very common. And so they did charge me in pesos. So I guess I didn't catch that it was so much, but I was assuming that because it's a drugstore that's like a well known in Colombia, I've seen it all over, that it would just be a standard charge. So it's like, you would like any other grocery store, drugstore, like a CVS. But I think that the people working in the store were in on it, and so they must have also gotten a kickback for this. And so it's, the scams can be sophisticated and people can get caught in different ways. So it's, you learn, and honestly on me for not looking closely enough. But I also I was trusting the business, I guess, too.
Yeah, well, that's not something you would typically expect, like when I go and I make a purchase and they tell me this is how much they're charging, I just take for granted that they're going to charge me the appropriate amount that they would charge anyone. Not I'm not gonna be scammed. So yeah, $80 for I know diapers are very expensive, but $80 for diapers is a bit much, right?
Right, totally. And I'm curious, like, what is your workhorse when you're on the go?
And it's funny because the Amex Platinum card is definitely not a top contender for me when I look at making purchases, especially abroad, because I know Amex isn't typically accepted in most places. So it's interesting that you brought up that perk of, yeah, I have these travel protections because I use this card. So that's a good reason to support using your Amex Platinum card whenever you're abroad. So I tend to use, I guess it depends where we're going. So Chase Sapphire Reserve was my go-to card for using like travel, making travel purchases. There's an Atlas Summit card, which I usually recommend for people to get because it earns 3 times on travel or any 3 times on any purchases that you make while you're traveling outside of the country. So any foreign transactions is going to earn you 3 times points on the Atlas card, and it's not an Amex card, so you don't have to worry about the problem of not being able to use your Amex in places where it's not accepted. So that's been a really good find over the past year.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I feel like in general, when I'm in the States, I average around 4% back in points or cash because I have all the cards for all the different situations, but not so good when I'm on the go. I'm happy if I don't have an international fee. You said that was the Atlas card? I'm gonna actually open one now. This is a great recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, so the Alaska program, so Alaska and Hawaiian Airlines merged, and now they have the Alaska Atmos card, so the Atmos Summit card is the one that earns 3 times back on international purchases, and you can also earn miles towards, status with Alaska, which has been really nice.
Okay, that's gonna be my next agenda item once we hang out. This is great. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Capital One Venture X, is also a good go-to card because it's not an Amex, so you don't have to worry about whether it's gonna be accepted internationally. I think it's a Visa card, and it's gonna earn 2 times back on everything, so it's a great I don't have to worry about optimizing because at least I'm earning 2 times back, and I know it's gonna be accepted in most places, so
No, that's fantastic. I feel like usually I am the card expert of my friends, and I know the US inside and out, but I appreciate when I can have an opportunity to learn something new about how to travel better abroad. So thank you for that.
yeah, no problem, and I love that you're able to visit all these places and that you're able to put you have your business aspect and you've got your personal travel aspect, and all these things can be earning points, and you can be using those points to book flights and hotels and all those things, so we'll have to talk.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, totally. Like, and to be honest, because I am like, doing market research essentially, and really using the opportunity to speak with potential users, which are people who are consistently traveling internationally. And I think these will also the people that will make the best content because usually you need to stay in some place for at least a couple days before you're gonna have a good recommendation. And that means I booked the flight with the points from one of my, corporate cards, and, effectively, a lot of what I'm doing can be a write-off, so there's also some good synergies there depending on how you have things structured.
Yes, I love that. I love the way you think.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. It's good.
So, yeah, so I was gonna say before we wrap up here, any last words of advice for someone who's, looking to plan their next memorable and authentic experience? They don't wanna spend hours researching. Where do they start?
Yeah, so just go to scout.travel on the web or Scout Travel in the App Store, and you can read about what we're doing, you can click log in. If you're on the web, it'll work on the web. If you're on any device, it'll work on that device, and I'd love for you to check it out. You feel free to find me on LinkedIn or my Instagram, the Scout Travel app on our socials, so, we'd love to hear your feedback, and I think we have an amazing product that already works today, but I'm also so excited about where we're gonna take it in the future. So if you're planning a trip, especially internationally, I'd love if you throw a Scout in the mix, you at least know what we're doing.
I love that, and I'm looking forward to using the app on my next trip, and I'll make sure that everyone has access in the show notes to where to find you, Instagram, LinkedIn, how to download the Scout app so that way they can get started as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Yeah, let me know.
Thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm gonna let you get back to your trip. He's in beautiful Colombia right now, and I can see all the lush foliage in the background, and I'm sure that he can't wait to get back to exploring, so
Well, thank you for having me. You're a wonderful host, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you today.
thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.